Hi guys, hope you're having a great Sunday afternoon. I wanted to continue today from our Bible verse where we left off yesterday, Luke 6, 1 through 11. One Sabbath day, some Pharisees confronted Jesus again. This time they saw the disciples picking some grain as they walked through the fields. The disciples would dehusk the grain by rubbing the kernels in their hands, and then they would eat it raw. Jesus certainly has his detractors. They watch him closely and voice their opposition to his words and actions. Sometimes they even try to stump him with questions or publicly humiliate him. But Jesus refuses to be intimidated. For every charge they level, he has an answer. To the charge of blasphemy, he responds, "I have the authority to forgive sins." To the charge that he befriends sinners and parties too much, he answers, "They are my people, I've come for them." To the accusation that he breaks Sabbath law, he quips, "The Sabbath is a great servant, but it's not your master. I am Lord of the Sabbath." The crowds are amazed at the tense give and take between Jesus and his opponents. They seem to respect the Pharisees for their strict observance of God's law, or perhaps they fear them because they don't want to become target of Pharisaic criticism. Yet the people are attracted to Jesus because of the peculiar moral authority he exhibits. As time goes on, Jesus crosses more and more lines drawn in the sand. The tension between Jesus and the Pharisees now becomes a major plot line of Luke's story. The Pharisees said, "Don't you know the sacred law says you can't harvest and mill grain on the Sabbath day, the day on which all work is forbidden? Why do you think you can ignore the sacred law?" The Pharisees think they have God all figured out. They claim to be experts in the sacred writings, the Hebrew scriptures. But Jesus doesn't fit in with their assumptions and expectations, and he doesn't submit to their presumed expertise. So they are constantly criticizing him and trying to trap him in some obvious wrongdoing or unorthodoxy. But Jesus responds and questions instead of answers. He seems to decide that the best way to help them is by challenging them to think, to question their assumptions, to see things from a higher and deeper perspective. For example, they argue about what is permissible on the Sabbath day, the seventh day, the day of rest. This is how Jesus gets them thinking about the deeper purpose of the Sabbath. Jesus said, "Speaking of the sacred law, haven't you ever read about the time when David and his companions were hungry? Don't you remember how he went into the house of God and took the sacred bread of the presence, which you may recall only the priests were lawfully permitted to eat? Remember that he not only ate it, but also gave it to his companions? Likewise, the Son of Man has authority over the Sabbath." On another Sabbath, Jesus entered the synagogue and taught there. In the congregation was a man who had a deformed right hand. The religious scholars and Pharisees watched Jesus. They suspected that he might try to perform a healing on that day, which they would use as evidence to convict him of Sabbath breaking. Jesus knew about their plan, and he told the man with the deformed hand to come and stand in front of everyone. The man did so. Then Jesus spoke directly to the religious scholars and Pharisees. Jesus said, "Here's a question for you. On the Sabbath day, is it lawful to do good or to do harm? Is it lawful to save life or to destroy it?" He turned his gaze to each of them, one at a time. Then he spoke to the man. "Stretch out your hand." As the man did, his deformed hand was made normal again. This made the Pharisees and religious scholars furious. They began discussing together what they would do to Jesus. And that was Luke 6, 1 through 11. Tomorrow we will continue where we left off today. And I will try to get you guys some Bible stories on later. And maybe also do another Bible reading tonight of Psalm 66 and Proverbs 11, 24 through 26. Again, where we left off from yesterday. But until then, I hope you guys have a great evening. And I will see you guys later when I either post some Bible stories and or both. More Bible readings. Have a great day. I love you guys. I'll see you later, and let's bring those souls to Jesus. God bless.